Hi everybody, my name is Ann Twist, or legally Ann Dancause-Twist, but I just go by Twist, it's a lot easier. And this is my introductory video, and I'm just going to put it out there. This is like my, I don't know, 90th take on this, so I hope this goes well. So a little bit about my educational background. I attended Oregon State University. No, not the Ducks. And I obtained my bachelor's in science in liberal studies with an emphasis in behavioral sciences in 1996. I actually started out as a pharmacy major, was in the program for about a year, but changed my mind and decided that's not what I wanted to do. So I began taking courses in teaching and eventually obtained my bachelor's degree in 1996. My intention was to enroll in the Master's in Teaching, or the MAT program at Oregon, or in Oregon. And because there was a possibility of me returning to California, um, it was put on hold because at the time in 1996, um, California wasn't really hiring teachers with master's degrees because they didn't want to pay the salaries of teachers that had master's degrees, and the credentials were not reciprocal. So it felt like if I wasted 2 years of my time and then, or not wasted, but if I had gone to school and then ended up in California, it would have been kind of a waste of time. So I did not do that, and I ended up moving back to Bakersfield. Once in Bakersfield, at the encouragement of my mother, I went down and applied for a job with the county, the Department of Human Services, or what's referred to as Child Protective Services. That has such an evil connotation to it, so we try to just call it the Department of Human Services. And I was hired as an extra help social worker, despite not knowing anything a social worker did. And within 2 or 3 months, I got hired on permanently. So I was there from 1998 up until September 1st when I decided to retire. So that's about 18 plus years. I did take 1 year off in 2001, 2002 to be a social worker over at Tri-Counties Regional Center working with persons with disabilities. Um, but I ended up coming back to Bakersfield and resuming my career. I basically was an investigator. I not only knocked on people's doors, wanting to discuss allegations of abuse and neglect, but I also worked in the court unit, writing court documents, basically advising the judge of why, when, how, um, about parents and what has occurred with the child and what they needed to do in order to be reunified with their children. And I did that for about, 16 years. And then another 6 years I spent in a program called the Independent Living Program, where I worked with the foster youth and the probation youth, um, getting them ready for emancipation. So I basically taught life skill classes and life skills to the youth that were 16 to 18. And that could be anywhere from teaching them how to do their own laundry to grocery shopping to writing a check. I also was afforded the opportunity to develop and implement a curriculum that's still used today, which basically giving the youth an idea of what it would be like to live off of X amount of dollars. We usually would like pick a minimum wage job, typically how much money they would get a month if they worked X amount of hours, and then they had to determine how much they could afford for rent, what utilities they had to have, what wants and needs they needed or wanted, and give them kind of a lesson in how to budget money. I eventually obtained my master's degree in social work in 2012, and although, you know, I only had it for 5 years, like I said, I just felt like I got enough out of my career as a social worker and felt like it was time to move on. So these are my kids, and I affectionately refer to them as Thing 1 and Thing 2. They do not like the fact that I call them Thing 1 and Thing 2, but that's tough on them. Um, I have a picture here of them wearing the Thing 1 and Thing 2 hats, which I think they were just appeasing me at that point. But year after year at Halloween, I try to get them to dress up as Thing 1 and Thing 2, and it hasn't happened yet. So maybe one day. But my oldest is 9 going on 10, and my youngest is 7 going on 8. And they are my life. My oldest rides BMX and competes at a national level. So there's a picture here in the upper right hand corner of him on his bike. He's the one in the front. And then down in the bottom right hand corner is him standing next to a 7-foot trophy that he won 2 years ago. And that in BMX world, we have a grand national race that is always held in Tulsa, Oklahoma in November, and it's called the Grand Nationals. And so in 2015, he won for his age group and proficiency, and so he won this big 7-foot trophy, and that was the highlight of his life. He, over here in the upper left-hand corner, is him wearing a Team USA jersey. This past summer, he competed and qualified to represent the United States at the BMX Worlds Championship in North Carolina. He was one of 132 other 9-year-old riders that were competing, and they came from all over the world. So he was competing against riders from Australia and Belgium and Colombia and France. And although he didn't make the main, he did very well. He actually moved forward up until I think right before semis. And so we were more than happy for him. And my youngest does not ride BMX. In fact, he thinks bicycles are dangerous. He's more of our comedic child, and so we bring him along for comical relief. But he's always constantly making us laugh and saying funny and doing funny things. But he's a really good trooper because we do travel a lot for BMX. The national races take us all over the United States and in Canada to compete. So we are constantly on the move and go. Some things I like to do in order to relax is go to the beach, and I do like to take pictures. I would love to have my own dark room someday. But here's a picture of the beach that I took of the sunset. And up here in the upper left-hand corner is my husband with my youngest. And we've been together for 15 years, married for 12. And he's a great father to my children, great husband. And some other things I do to relax is go to concerts. I'm a big music person. I incorporate music into my life anytime I can. And I've seen lots of bands, lots and lots of bands. I've been going to concerts since I was, I don't know, 16 years old, and I've seen some really good concerts. And just last week saw Depeche Mode, and I collect my ticket stubs, and one day I'm going to do something amazing with them, but I haven't had time. And then another little tidbit about me is I was adopted when I was an infant, and 4 years ago, I was reintroduced, or I met my biological family for the first time. And so this picture over here on the right is of me and my biological brother and sister. They are older than me. I actually was the youngest when I was given up for adoption. And it's been kind of a trip. And you go through life as an adoptee, kind of not ever looking at a picture thinking you look like someone. And then once you meet your biological family, it's kind of weird because now when you see pictures of yourself, you're like, wow, I look like my mom. So it's been pretty cool. And the whole nature versus nurture thing. I mean, apparently, me and my brother, my biological brother, are very, very similar in personalities too, and so it's kind of trippy to be around people that you actually have the same mannerisms. But it's been nice getting to know them, and I'm very happy that I now have the medical history that I never had. So in this last one, this is my mom's bragging moment. I did make a video of my oldest in his BMX races, and I put together a video through iMovie that I I like to show. And so I don't know, I just felt like you guys might be interested in it. So here it is. And just a little tidbit about that video, that last scene where you see the kid put his fist up in the air, whatever, that was when my son won that big 7-foot trophy. So he loves that part of the video. So I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my introductory video, and I am looking forward to meeting you all.